Oops, I haven't started doing the recording, so I better switch that on now. Okay, Jeff Brennan has got his hand up, so I'm going to unmute Jeff. I think he's got something to contribute. Off you go, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't
Can
know
you
whether
speak up? You're a bit quiet.
okay, let me just turn my. I guess one of the things I wanted to ask Faye and Sean, whether or not particularly in the teaching sessions at handover and on the board, whether or not the instruction video for each of or the presentation for each of the interventions that's on the website, whether they're useful or not, whether staff are accessing them if they're not actually in the handover teaching session, because one of the ideas we have is that the staff would be able to get to those to have an understanding of the interventions, and I'm just wondering if that's happening.
Okay, Faye's hand is flashing on and off. Do you want to make a contribution on that before I open it to Sean? Faye?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was up or down then, sorry. How useful are
the videos, yeah.
They're very useful, actually. What we've been doing, we've been using those in particular at handover because they're an easy option, and then also having the guidance, the little booklets pinned up and advising people to read them. We've also been having a name signature list as well to make sure that all staff have read it and signed to say they've understood it and read it, and then if people haven't signed, then we know they've not either been to one of the teaching sessions or they've just missed out because of the shift pattern or what have you, so we can then say, oh, do you know about this, have you heard about this module, and try and teach them that way. But the YouTube clips, those are really, really helpful actually. People find them much easier to just sit and watch rather than reading through stuff, I suppose.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, Sean, any comments on the videos or the online material?
Hi, we used the videos as part of the away days, and I let all the staff know where they were beforehand, so I think staff probably have looked. What we did, we printed off all of the files at the beginning, so when we got them off the Safe Facebook page. We never did actually have a signature list, which I think is probably quite a good idea, because now that we're actually fully implemented, I think we're getting to the point where we actually, like sort of fidelity questionnaires and stuff like that, and I think we probably need to be now going back and checking that people actually do know. We do use them in supervision to see how people see themselves as implementing things, but I think actually putting the information leaflets out again and getting people to sign for them might actually be a useful way of moving forward with it. You get a point where, you see one of the things later is risk of dilution. Well, I think, yeah, there definitely is a risk of dilution, and people sort of think, yeah, well, we've got it implemented now, we can leave it now.
As we're talking about effectively about training in the beginning, one of the things that we're curious about is how much actual training per se is required to get people using Safewards. In our presentations, we say that there's no formal training required, that people can just view the website, read the materials, and get on with it. Is that a reasonable thing to say to people, or is that in some way misleading? Any offers from anybody? Stick your hand up, please. Okay, Faye, you have got the floor. Are you there? Are you there, Faye? I think we've got a few problems with your sound.
Hello.
Oh, there you go. You're on. The floor is yours, Faye. You had your hand up.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Just remind me what the question was. I've forgotten now. I've been
How much is formal training, some kind of formal educational training event required for people to implement Safewards, or is it just a matter of viewing the videos and reading the materials and getting on with it?
Yeah, I think it's easy enough to understand, so that viewing the material and the videos and stuff, it can be implemented that way. It may be beneficial perhaps to have like one sort of formal more formal training session, and then for the leads obviously to then go out and help with the learning for others. And if there's been any sort of specific module that someone feels, oh, I already do that, or I'm already really good at that, then we've just encouraged those people to be the champions, and then to try and teach others and lead by example and highlight to others if they've done something good, or they may not have realised that they've used sort of soft words with somebody without it being highlighted to them because they already do it. So we've said, oh, you know, we need to be praising that and making people aware that they are using that and how they can help others, sort of by leading by example. But I wouldn't say that it needs any formal thing, because we're managing to implement it by the champions using all the guidance from the website.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we did in the course of the actual research study. We didn't provide any formal training sessions at all. Anybody else want to comment on the training issue? Stick your hand up. Okay, Caroline. Is it Caroline or Carolyn? You there? We're not getting any sound from you at the moment. Still nothing from you, Caroline. No sound at all. I'm just going to switch you off for a minute because Jeff's got his hand up. Let's take Jeff first, and then I'll come back to you, Caroline. So you've got the floor, Jeff.
Thanks very much, Faye, for the thanks for that answer. It's very interesting. But I think one of the questions I always had was that if we did introduce training, that it might become a block implementation. You know, the kind of, oh, I can't do that, I haven't had the training. And I was just wondering if people would feel that, you know, whether that's a block that they would feel on the wards is are we right in that? Am I right in that thinking, really? That it might become a potential block.
Okay, let's go back and see what Caroline has to say, see if we can get her on the line this time. Are you there, Caroline? Have you got any sound yet? Yeah, I'm sorry, we're not getting anything from you. Could you type a contribution or what you want to say into the chat box so we can see it? We've got to allow a little bit of time now for the electrons to make their way all the way to Australia and back again, I think. Oh, I've just discovered the questions pane. Ah, no. Caroline's got no sound at the moment. Carla can't hear what Jeff is saying, so can you please summarise? I'll try next time. I can't remember what he was last saying. Caroline's got no sound at the moment, so that must be some kind of computer problem there. And that summarises it at the moment. So I've got Andrea Brennan putting up her hand, and let's give you the floor. Andrea, the floor is yours. Talk to us. No, we're not getting any sound from Andrea either. I wonder whether these sorts of difficulties are endemic to doing these things. Oh, Andrea seems to have disappeared completely. Okay, I'm going to continue with the topics on the discussion points. What are the most important of these? Because we've been on the line for half an hour already and we don't want to continue too much longer. going to take a quick question on the supplementary videos. All of those little videos that Jeff and I made, largely, that we filmed around the Maudsley Hospital and the Institute of Psychiatry, are those useful or are they not useful? Do you think they're good for implementers or no good for implementers? How can you use those? How can you not use them? If you've got a point of view, and as Faye's got her hand up, I'm going to put her back on the line. There you go, Faye. We should be able to hear you.
Hello. Yeah, they're really really beneficial. I think people, for sort of quickness on a busy ward, on a busy PQ, we found them much easier and easy to understand for like explaining the various modules and things. So they've been really useful to us for us to use. And generally, obviously, people have a lot of booklets and things to ring for various other things on the ward. So if we can say to them, well, you've got 5 minutes, just have a look at this YouTube clip, this video of it, then they're more willing to, you know, even with the people who are a bit more resistive to change and things, they're more willing to sit and watch the YouTube clips.
I was thinking more not of the intervention videos here, but those extra ones that Jeff and I did, together with the ones we've done of various managers and practitioners up and down the country talking about the implementation process.
Oh.
Were they any use to you?
Not me personally, no. I haven't.
Yeah, but what?
Perhaps for Tom, maybe, with how to implement things. But we use on the ward level. We use the clips more so.
Okay, so not necessarily for you. Let me see. Does anybody else want to make a mention of those supplementary videos? I see Carolyn has got her hand up again. Have you got any sound yet, Caroline? No, still nothing from Caroline, and I don't seem to be able to access the questions window again, so I've got no idea what these questions are. Sian, you've got something to say. Go on, the floor is yours.
Yes, we found the supplementary videos really useful, but we were most of them having to actually have a look at them at home, where we don't actually have sound cards and stuff like that on the computers that we have on the ward. But I think it was quite useful for people to have a look at them at home. And I think pretty much all of the staff on the ward that actually have access to Facebook are on the Safewards page anyway. And quite a few people actually did comment that they'd seen them. I found them really useful because obviously sort of a lot of them were actually referring to issues after implementation, resistance and that kind of thing, and it just very much fitted with us at the time, you know, so you can guarantee sort of the stuff that we were going through at that particular week fitted with the video that you actually had on. So we found them quite useful. And of course Virginia watches all of them and tells me all about them.
Okay. I think we're probably just going to wind up the discussion as this is our first go at a webinar. What topic would you want to cover at a future webinar? What do you think would be best for us to try and cover, say, in our next webinar in about a month's time? Once again, you've got the floor, Sian.
I'd quite like to have some stuff about what we can actually do with our evidence. We've been doing the patient staff conflict checklist since we started, and it would be really, you know, so we've actually now got a big box full of them. It'd be really useful to know sort of actually what are we recording on, you know, what are we analysing, what are we counting. I don't really want to be leaving it for a long time before we do stuff with it, but we're very keen to actually evaluate after 12 months. But it'd be nice to actually get the process going. So maybe just a little bit sort of basic stuff on.
Okay, so
I do have access to SPSS from my daughter, so you just think, oh, we need to get going on this really when we have the time.
Okay, well we could certainly do something on evaluation and on use of the PCC if that's what people would like to talk about in detail. Yeah. Anything else that people would like covered in a future webinar? Poor Caroline Delaforce here in Brisbane. Every time I look at her, she's got her hand up. I'll switch on her microphone. I hope she's able to hear us, but it doesn't look like she is. And I think she might be asking questions, but I can't quite find the place on here where I can see. Oh, here we go, the questions. Oh, Caroline has offered us, we're in the planning phase, the videos have been useful. Carla Mobir is saying she only has listening. So you see, I don't know whether you guys out there can see the questions as well. I've just managed to get access to them again. Right. Any other, would anybody else like to nominate some idea as to what they would like to covered in future webinars? The sorts of things I was planning to cover were to perhaps take one each of the interventions for a webinar and have a little discussion amongst ourselves about good and bad ways of using it, what are the best ways of introducing it, what are the problems associated with it, that sort of thing. That would keep us going. If we took one a month, that would keep us going for about 10 months, in fact. Anybody interested in that? I see Jeff's got his hand up. Jeff, away you go. I have to repeat what you say because not everybody can hear you. Your sound is not very good, actually, but off you go.
Okay. I was just going to say, if we're going to do an introduction, probably one of the better things, taking what Faye and Sean have been saying, is perhaps if we took some of the less sexy ones first, rather than go for the, because we're talking to implementers here, really. I think it'd be good to go with the ones that are perhaps a little bit of a harder sell. So I think Sean listed a few that are less, and I think Faye is, if Faye could, people could email us the ones that, or put on Facebook the ones maybe that they prefer to tackle first.
Okay, Jeff is suggesting that we tackle the most difficult interventions first, the ones that people find hardest. And he's maybe suggesting that you and others could email us before the webinar to nominate which one it was that we should discuss. Faye's got her hand up. Faye, what do you say?
The clear and mutual expectations, that's quite a big one for us, just because of we're not implementing it first because it's a bit of a bigger one. However, it would have been more useful to have been able to use it at the beginning, because it clears a lot of sort of inconsistency up amongst in between staff, and for example set blanket ban rules on our ward and what's acceptable, and things like TV off at midnight. Some staff will be off at midnight regardless, and then other staff leave a bit of leeway, and clearing these things up which all cause conflict. And I think looking back, it would have been nice to have had more time to have perhaps implemented that one first, but it's a big one because you kind of need to get a bit of information gathering before. Even with the guidance stuff, we also did just a questionnaire as to sort of what staff's understanding of what are the rules on our ward, or I know we call them expectations on the module, but just trying to gather an understanding of where staff stand and what rules they feel are there has been quite helpful, and I'm just sort of kind of putting all that information together, and then we'll start the other stuff that within the guidance. But that one's quite a big one, but I think would have been beneficial to start earlier.
Okay, very good. I could talk a lot about clear mutual expectations, but it's probably best to leave it until we actually hold the specific webinar on that. Sian, you had your hand up?
Yes, just along with Faye, really, with clear mutual expectations, we felt it was our last one and it took the longest of all of them. And we actually used that as our away days. That was the basis for our away days, to actually have everybody just... And how I think it worked was that because we'd implemented everything else, there was actually that change in culture on the ward already. So it was a good point at which to work on clear mutual expectations, because by that point we were clear we didn't want blanket bans, we didn't want these rules, and we didn't want these sort of inconsistencies that you had. And actually it helped us to switch to being more individualised with people, like some fizzy drinks, energy drinks. Somebody who stays in bed all day, you've got no problem with them having an energy drink. But somebody who's up all night after having an energy, you don't want them to have it. So it's actually, we were actually able to highlight in our clear mutual expectations that we will treat everybody as an individual. And so as a result, what they're allowed to do is going to be different. And that seems to have worked okay for us in it. But yeah, I think clear mutual expectations is a biggie.
Okay, well, we'll propose that via Facebook and email and see how many takers, and see whether there's anything else which is particularly popular. But the aim will be to have another one of these brief webinars in about a month's time, and I'll publish the recording of this one. Well, I'll publish the recording of half of this one because I forgot to switch the recording on when we first started. I'll publish that as soon as possible so that other people can have a look at it via YouTube, and then we'll fix another date. Would anybody likely to say anything last off? Caroline is putting in that yes, that sounds good, would like to discuss resistance to particular interventions. There's been some chat on Facebook regarding this recently. Yeah, in fact, one of the good things that Jeff and I have noticed on Facebook is that people are starting to interact far more about practicalities of implementing the interventions, and that's really good because we can see you all helping each other. Long may it continue, and goodbye, and thank you very much for coming to our first webinar. Bye.